Hi friends, I'm here for our Instagram Live with Zach Weiss of Water Stories, and it's just going to be a moment until we invite him on here. We are. Hi Pia. We're just waiting for Zach to join us and we'll get started. And Martin will be interviewing Zach here on Instagram Live. Hi Zach. Welcome to
Hey, guys.
the Instagram Live series. And I'll just pass it over to Martin. Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Hey everyone, so we're very happy for this moment. This is the first in a series of Water is Love Instagram Live talks where we will have conversations with practitioners, thought leaders, scientists, activists, others to unpack basically everything that we are saying in our documentary Water is Love, Regeneration. And we are very happy to start this off with Zach Weiss of Elemental Ecosystems and Water Stories, who is really doing an amazing work to build regenerative designs, water retention landscapes, but also has incredible educational programs and media works to promote this work. Hi, Zach. Thanks for joining us. And yeah,
Of course. Hello, everybody.
and also, yeah, an opportunity for people to learn more and get involved with your work. So we'll just start with curious what you made of the film.
Yeah, I really love the film Water is Love. I think we have part of Water Stories, we make films, and we have this idea of what is responsible filmmaking. And if you're just making films about problems, you're really just seeding more angst into the world. And so what I really love about Water is Love is showing solutions, showing, yes, we have big problems, yes, we have big concerns, but we also have answers already. And the reality is we don't need to wait for some technological innovation to save us or some thing that we don't have currently. We just need to apply what we already have readily available to every one of us as human beings. And I think the film does a really great job of helping people move from anxiety and fear about the potential consequences of everything going on right now to hopeful action of, okay, here's what we can actually do to move in a different direction. And so I really love how it paints the two sides, both the problems, but then also really giving people viable answers to those questions and issues that are raised throughout the film.
Cool, thank you. And yeah, and also you yourself done various documentaries, and so I invite people also to check your work out. Fantastic film about Stranger Things work, for example. Yeah, and would love to know actually more about you and for somebody who is so dedicated to working with water. It of course brings up the question like why? What was the aha moment maybe if there was one, like where you realized I will dedicate my life's work, my mission basically is water. So I'd be curious to know what that was.
Yeah, there were a few, but to keep it on point, one big, it really changed my whole life, was attending an intensive workshop with Sepp Holzer in Montana. And that was just everything I dreamed of wanting to do as a kid in actuality, people who having already done it, doing it on a landscape, making this incredible transformation over 11 days, and then seeing the ripple effects of that transformation. I was totally hooked at that point, and that was just grab onto the reins and go as hard as you can because everything I had dreamed of suddenly was possible. Now, this was still all centered around nature. I think nature and water are hard to separate. They're kind of one and the same thing. But then through doing this work, the focus shifted towards water because of the results, I think, as much as anything. When you work with water, nature rebounds in this really incredible way. And so if you want to serve nature and help restore nature, working with water is the best way to accomplish that. So it really took me several years after that aha moment to realize that water is the basis of all of this. I think it's so easy to take for granted because it gives us everything, and yet we never really recognize that. And when you actually take a moment, and think about it all, you see how, like Sepp says, once you've got the water household in accordance, 70% of the work is already done. And so in wanting to restore nature, that water work is just the easiest way to do it.
Cool. Actually, I wanted to invite you to unpack this a little more for people that, for whom this might not immediately be very clear what you mean by that. Like maybe Zach's idea with the 70%, like what does that mean? And also what does it look like in practice?
Yeah, I mean, the 70%, if you think of 70% of all life is water, and that's if we're just measuring by volume. If we're measuring molecularly, 99% of all life is water.
Right.
And so when you have more water on a landscape, life just erupts from that. And so these projects are all centered around retaining the water that is received, receiving it in that landscape instead of rejecting it, getting it to hold in the ground, go into the ground, move through living ecosystems, which then re-triggers this small water cycle and this whole cascade of positive effects that can, do everything from lower local temperatures, increase rainfall, revive rivers. All of the different incredible things that we've seen are usually from re-triggering this healthy cycling of water.
Right, which is also, kind of core of what we're talking about in the film, and what is I feel the key message now that needs to be getting out to all the people that are concerned about ecological emergency and a climate crisis. And we need to stop rainwater runoff and make sure rainwater stays on the ground. And your work is also like such a fantastic example of this regenerative effect that happens when we do that. So maybe just tell us a little bit, like, how are you implementing this? What are you doing practically? And also, you've been super busy in a lot of projects. It's actually been hard to even sometimes catch you because you're just so much out doing all of this work. So, what have been highlights in recent months? What are you learning? What are you seeing? What encourages you?
Oh yeah, there's been some real highlights recently in getting to revisit some old projects. And one, for example, we just ran into a client and we went to visit the site and we found axolotl in the water body that we had built that are incredibly rare in Montana. It's essentially only when the conditions are so good and so pristine that these barred tiger salamanders will stay in the water as axolotl instead of go on land to search for better conditions. And these now, they used to be present all throughout the state. They're now only in 2 lakes, and now there's a third that was a parking lot 3 years ago. So we went from a parking lot that the Army Corps approved someone to fill in a wetland. Then we restored that wetland, and within 3 years, we have these endangered organisms that are already back there on that landscape. So that was just the fact that we can take one step forward and then nature will take the next 10, the next 100. We didn't introduce plants. We didn't introduce all we did was undo the damage that previous humans had done. We read that landscape to see, okay, where's the water flowing? We did test slices into the ground and we saw that this area had been filled in and that there was some water and some clay and all the ingredients to be able to hold on to that water. And then we just did, I think it was over 11 days again, we basically restored this little wetland, and now it holds water through the year. It has these endangered organisms. It's full of aquatics. All of the neighbors walk their dogs there because it's so pretty and nice. The elk are drinking from it. The deer are drinking from it. And so this 11 days that we did 3 years ago has created ripple effects that will continue hopefully till the next ice age if we really built this water body correctly. And so it's just incredibly hope and awe-inspiring that we can do so little over such a short period of time and have such long ripple effects. And that was a really cool project to get to see that firsthand.
Thank you for sharing. I also feel just when you say this that like something that I've met both in the experience we've had doing this work in Tamara and with interviewing all the different people for the film, like there is a certain reverence for water when we do this work, like because we step into a larger cycle of regeneration that is not just up to us humans, but we actually get to cooperate with this regenerative potential or earth intelligence or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that's very powerful.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
really exponential growth when you just align yourself with the processes that are already unfolding. And it's amazing. I think a lot of times I look at my work as being a land therapist. And I'm a therapist between that landscape and the people living there. Because a lot of times they'll fight that landscape tooth and nail to try and make it something that it's not, to just be a slave to that work that they're having to do to try and maintain this ideal that's out of relationship with that landscape. And oftentimes you can make these small little tweaks, set off these processes that unfold on their own, that you don't have to do any maintenance or care of, and it does all these incredible things. But usually we have to give up a little bit of control in terms of our vision, in terms of our strategy, and humans do not like giving up control.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and also recognize that we are part of a larger community of life. We're not at the center, but we are here to be in right relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for me, that's always been the most powerful part of this work. I like humans well enough, but I feel a great affinity for our non-human brothers and sisters that are not complicit in the destruction of ecosystems, but are suffering the consequences even more so. You know, the fish can't go to a doctor to get cleaned up from the pollutants that we put into the water. And so it's incredible to get to, and we have such odd, incredible encounters with animals and non-human relatives on these projects. I can't even explain it. I'll be sitting on an excavator, breaking through the topsoil, crushing down trees, whatever, and I'll have a hummingbird fly into the cab and just hang out with me for a few moments and then fly on. We've had mountain lions come in through and check out our projects as we're working on them. We've had deer come and approach us as we're smashing around on big excavators, and I don't know what it is, but it seems like when you put a little bit of that positive intention into a landscape, the land feels it, the other organisms feel it, and it all just creates this incredible surge of life that can happen afterwards.
That's wonderful. And also, it feels like you were saying you feel like the therapist to the landscape, but in some ways, it also feels the land heals the person who is putting that healing intention. I'd be curious also, like, what is your vision for this work? Like, what do you see as the horizon of, I guess these experiences also inspire like a change of, like, what might be possible on the larger picture.
Oh, yeah. And the more I do this work for different people, and the more we have students do this work for different people, it touches all walks of life. And so for me, the vision that we're going on with Water Stories is really just capacity building. How do we get it so that as many people as possible know how to do these things, are able to do these things, are able to read landscapes and help other people interact with those landscapes in better ways? Because we're working for the Department of Defense in the United States. You know, some of our students are working for the highest end wineries in Italy or the highest end hotels in Spain. And all of these people have water issues that are usually a result of their misalignment with that landscape. And the amount of money that can be saved. I was just talking to a colleague the other day who easily saved $500,000 on a development project because they just hadn't thought about water or the actual shape of the land in this whole master plan of this development. So, you know, everything from individual farmers and homesteaders all the way scaled up to cities. This is work that we all need to engage in on some level. And one of the things I really love about it is there's so many different ways to engage in this type of work. No matter what you're interested in, no matter what your skills are, there's ways for you to contribute to this movement. And so just building capacity amongst people and space for people to connect with one another. I think once you have those two things, the need and the interest is so great that it's just going to have this snowball effect.
So how can people get involved with you and learn more?
Yeah, so we have waterstories.com, a whole online platform, films, videos, all freely accessible. It's a great place to connect with other people trying to do this type of work, doing this type of work. If you want to find someone to help you with your project, we have a great practitioners network on the website. We're training new people every year. We have a core course that is really, I try and take my 5-year learning journey and put all the most essential stuff in 6 months to fast-paced people. And I'll say it's actually does even better than I had hoped for. I thought, people would go through this and then in a year be a practitioner, and a lot of people are just ready to go right after it. So waterstories.com, there's so much content you can just get into right away. And then if and when you want to really become a practitioner of this and ramp up your learning and abilities really quick, we have that core course available. It goes once a year, and so enrollment is open through the end of this month, and then it won't open again until 2026.
So that is a week from now, I guess?
Yes, yep, exactly. 1 week left.
Cool. Yeah, I really recommend people who have seen Water is Love or anyways aware of these issues and want to kind of put these ideas into practice and really become a practitioner, to check out this program. Also, thank you, Zach, for offering our community and followers a special discount, so you can get $100 off by putting in Water is Love, one word, as a coupon code. And thank you so much for all the work that you're doing, for sharing here. It's really amazing to know you and to be collaborating with you. Is there anything else you want to share before we end this?
Just to thank you guys for creating such a beautiful film, creating such a beautiful offering for the world. I know better than most how much effort and time and resources and everything goes into creating a project like that. And you guys have done it in a really beautiful way. So if you guys out there haven't watched this film yet, highly recommend it. It's available now on, is it Water is Love Film? What's the...
Water is... yeah.
Highly recommend it, and just kudos and hats off to you guys, because it's easy to not understand how much goes into a project like that, and I think you guys have done it exceptionally well.
Thank you so much. And greetings to everybody out there listening. Have a wonderful evening or rest of your day wherever you are. Bye bye.
How do we live?